is an international NGO, environmental NGO. We are present in 40 countries, and then we have offices in 28 of them. So, for Greenpeace Southeast Asia, we have offices in the Philippines, in Indonesia, and in Thailand. So, nandito tayo ngayon sa Philippine office ng Greenpeace. So, what we do, we are a campaigning organization. We campaign for different environmental issues. So, for the Philippines, we are campaigning for toxic issues, oceans, climate and energy, climate justice, and ecological agriculture. Greenpeace in the Philippines was established in the year 2000. But globally, we were founded in Canada in 1971. Kung familiar kayo doon sa storya ng Greenpeace, history, familiar ka doon sa ships. In 1971, a group of hippies went to, because it's in Canada, in Vancouver yata. They want to bear witness. Kaya yung bearing witness talaga yun is a principle, is a concept ng Greenpeace. There was a threat in 1971 of nuclear bombing in an island in Amchitka, Alaska, which is close to Canada. So these hippies, they were composed of journalists, there were, I think, doctors. There's a group of them. They just sailed using a fishing boat. They went to the place, dun sa Amchitka Island, to bear witness dun sa gagawing nuclear testing ng Diaz. Of course, the people were saying, this is crazy hippies, ba't pupunta kayo dyan? But they just wanted to ang talaga intention nila is to stop, but as if naman they can stop it using just a small fishing boat, tapos just a bunch of guys na pupunta doon. So of course, they weren't able to stop the nuclear testing still happened. But when they came back, since they were reporters at medyo yung communication hindi ba medyo mahirap na, but they were able to communicate back on mainland na may nangyayari ganun. And they were welcome. Talaga na people didn't know, it was a big story. So it started actually the movement. Siyempre na-enrage yung mga tao, bakit ginawang ba yung it's nuclear, it's dangerous of course. So eventually, although hindi naman nila na-stop yun, nagkaroon ng ruling na the land will be untouched and now it's sanctuary. Hindi siya. So, gano'n. Tapos na lang siya. Nag-spread out na lang. And yeah, over 44 years now. One of our strategies is policy work. So we lobby for different policies, different laws na sa tingin namin relevant para sa context ng Pilipinas, na sa tingin natin is kailangan. Baka kasi may kasalukuyan na tayong batas na may kulang o medyo luma na kailangan baguhin, or sa tingin natin may kulang pa tayong batas na kailangan na rin nila. So that's how we work. We also work with communities. We use the social media. We use a lot of communications. We have a communications unit. So that's traditional media and that's also social media. Kasi right now, it's one of the really effective tools and platforms na kung saan mas mabilis makapag-inform, makapag-share ng information, and it gets people to move, not just to inform but also to move. Also, Greenpeace is known for doing creative actions, creative activities. So we do that kasi we like to bring attention to different issues, environmental issues. So we call it bearing witness. Bearing witness means you go to the actual place where environmental crimes are happening and be witness to what is happening, document it, and let the world know that there is such environmental crime or injustice happening. We don't necessarily work with them. Isa kasi sa mga principles ng Greenpeace is independence. So, madalas marami nagtatanong sa amin, how do you get your funding? We don't get funding from the government. We don't get funding from corporations. We don't accept funding from groups na alam namin na may pwedeng naming maging target later on. So we are financially independent. We accept funding from individuals, from individual citizens who believe in our cause. Work with them critically, because we need them. The government is there for a reason. They have to implement laws, enact laws. We criticize them for maybe not doing their jobs. We lobby with them if we think that there is a change that has to happen. So that is via policy work. So most of the time, we have policy recommendations na inilalapit namin sa kanila. In the earlier years, we know na mahirap parang ipaintindi yung environmental issues sa general public, especially sa youth. Pero we believe na yung appreciation sa environmental issues mas malawak na, even sa youth. So, in reality, medyo hindi na rin mahirap mag-approach sa youth. Kasi even sa schools, sa mga subjects, na i-incorporate, we use tools na sa tingin namin kayang yun yung na-adapt na at ginagamit na ng youth. So, number one is social media. In fact, yung social networks namin, for example, Facebook or Twitter, marami talaga kaming youth followers. Component din ng mga work namin is to reach out to the youth. So, for example, we work on a project and we do mass mobilization. We mobilize. We even have a youth coordinator for the office. Our youth coordinator reaches out to schools, to universities, even in Salle. We have partnered with some of the groups at schools. Usually, mga student council or mga environmental orgs sa mga schools. We partner with them also. And we work globally. So, we have global projects na pinapatupad sa Pilipinas. But to be more specific sa Philippine context, and I mentioned earlier that campaigning for policy reform is one of our strongest points. So I can say that Greenpeace has been instrumental in the passage of different environmental laws. So for example, in 1999, Greenpeace is one of the most active organizations that lobbied for the passage of the Clean Air Act. In 2000, it's Ecological Solid Waste Management Act. 1994, I think it's the Clean Water Act. 2008, it's Renewable Energy Act. So, laging kasama kami sa paglalobby na maipasa yung mga ganong batas. Isa siguro sa mga ginagawa pa rin namin actively, at hanggang ngayon, binabantayan namin, pinomonitor namin how the agency that is mandated to enforce those policies na ipatupad. We actively engaged the DNR, the Department of Energy, the BFAR, 3 months ago na naging part ng Greenpeace sa pag-amend noong the Fisheries Act. Kasi we think na obsolete na yung kasalukuyan nating fisheries law, and we were able to input some changes at naipasa yun, pinirmahan ng familiar with the issue of GMOs, so genetically modified organisms. For the longest time, there are multinational companies that are they want to for GMO and operations to proliferate dito sa the Philippines is a largely an agricultural country, so talagang tayo yung market nila. So for example, sa rice, we are working against golden rice. There is also the GMO corn. So isa siguro sa mga successes din namin is we were able to engage the Supreme Court to stop the field tests ng GMO corn. So, it is one of the biggest wins. At least, alam namin na natulungan namin well, hindi naman namin itinitake lahat ng credit because we also work in communities and other with the academe. Kasi kailangan namin ng support. Hindi naman kaya gawin ng Greenpeace lahat. But we took the lead in engaging the Supreme Court, and yun nga, yun yung success na naipatigil yung pag-field test ng GMO corn. Kasi we believe na naapektuhan niya, of course, yung farmers, at hindi lang yun, yung proliferation of genetically modified organisms, which is unhealthy, and it's not good for the environment, for a balanced ecology. Madami. So ngayon, may mga running na projects. So I mentioned earlier that we have 5 active campaigns running, at least in the Philippines. So, for example, for the toxics campaign, which I am campaigner, meron kaming ongoing na if you're familiar with the Detox My Fashion campaign. Detox means, to campaign for toxic-free fashion. So, if you're familiar with that, in 3 years ago, we campaigned for global fashion brands not to use hazardous chemicals in the production of the clothes. So it's an ongoing thing. Isa rin siguro sa mga achievements na siguro hindi ko lang nabanggit kanina, but it is a global project, but we were able to get commitments from these brands. Kaya gradually, with timelines and targets, and by the year 2020, i-eliminate na nila palagi lahat ng hazardous chemicals sa buong supply chain, sa production ng mga clothes. Kasi malaking issue siya sa atin, kasi although these are global brands and they are based or headquartered in, for example, in the US, yung suppliers kasi nila nagagaling sa mga developing countries like the Philippines, like Indonesia, like China, everything yung nasa doon. So, kasi for cheap labor. So, of course, it's business. So, they get cheap labor, they get their supplies, their textile there, and all the pollution is happening there. Kasi in the production of our clothes, yung wet processes, yung dyeing, yung bleaching, yung washing, that involves chemicals. And dinidischarge lang yun sa mga water bodies. So of course, yung discharges nun, of course, it creates pollution sa lakes, sa rivers. So, yun yung isang panawagan ng toxics campaign na yung mga global brands will stop, we expose them actually, yung campaign namin. So we like doing creative action. So we exposed them, we did some creative fashion stuff in the last 3 years, ganyan. And we got their attention. We actually engaged online. We were able to get a community, detox movement community. And there were like a really good turnout. For example, when we targeted AB-ISE, because they were polluting in Mexico, in just a matter of 2 weeks, we got 500,000 samples. Because, syempre, naniniwala sila doon sa cause. And meron din kaming projects on upcoming sa climate and energy, yung creation ng solar rooftops. So, kasi we promote renewable energy. So, yun. So, paggamit ng solar rooftops. Kasi although meron ng batas, may renewable energy law na tayo, hindi siya napapatupad. Sa coal pa rin kasi tayo nakaasa, which is dirty energy. So, against it sa law. So, yun yung isa sa pinapanawagan namin, clean energy. And then, climate justice. Climate justice because alam natin taon-taon, lagi tayo yung binabagyo. Pilipinas lagi ang may mga nabibiktima. And we attribute that to climate change. Kasi it's not normal. For example, Mindanao, hindi naman binabagyo yan. Pero but in the last 2 years, doon dumadaan ang bagyo. Nag-iba na raw kasi yung patterns. So, there are many studies na already done by Greenpeace and also other academics na nagsasabi na talagang attributed, man-made ang reason ng climate change. We have actually just filed a case against the big companies, polluting companies, sa Commission on Human Rights, because we are saying that climate is a human rights issue. Kasi talagang mga tao naman yung nakapektuhan. So, financial independence, we don't get from corporations. We don't get money from corporations, yung foundations, and we make sure na kung meron kaming mga major donation, galing sa tao, is because talagang gusto niya lang mag-donate. That separates us from other environmental organizations. Maraming factors na contribute. So, kasi you mentioned maybe domestic causes. Siyempre yung sa mga household, talaga naman gumagamit. Actually, the top source of pollution factors is domestic households. Pero Greenpeace wants to focus on the industries. Industrial pollution is really also very big. So industrial operations are really also a big factor and that contributes to the pollution that's happening sa atin. And it, of course, it's also aggravated by climate change. Kasi connect naman lahat ng issues na to. So, actually, pwede natin imapa lahat ng campaigns ng Greenpeace, gawin natin isang circular or cycle. Kaya natin gawin yan. Kasi lahat, everything is interconnected. Isa sa mga policies isa sa mga principles ng environment, everything is interconnected. So, yun yung mga contributory factors. What else? So, sa agricultural pollution din, the use of pesticides, which is of course connected pa rin sa agriculture issue namin. Pollution din, but there's agriculture. For example, sa spills, sa mga spills, also contribute to ocean pollution, especially plastics right now. Kung familiar kayo, this year, there was a study that was released by a university in the US that said that the Philippines is third in the top countries in the world na nag-cause ng plastic pollution in the oceans. Makahiga yun. Number top 1 is China, top 2 is Indonesia, top 3 Philippines. Policies na hindi naipatupad, nag-cause yun ng eventual na parang deterioration. Nag-worsen yung problem kasi hindi naipatupad ng gusto. I think yung continuous na engagement sa mga government agencies. Kasi although hindi naman namin sila hindi natin sila permanent ally, pero there are issues na kailangan talaga silang makatrabaho. So for example, sila lang naman kasi may mandate na magtrabaho, na ipatupad yung batas kasi sila nga yung government. Oo, ang role naman ng civil society or ng NGOs is to point out pag may nakikita na siguro may kulang, siguro may mali. Yun naman yung role ng Greenpeace, for example, in terms of the environmental issues. So yun, continuous engagement with the governments, using public awareness. Kasi hindi naman kaya gawin ng Greenpeace lang mag-isa yun. Kailangan, very crucial, na alam ng tao. Kasi yun namang pagkilos ng tao, nagsisimula lagi sa information. Hindi naman kikilos yan kung wala yung alam. So, number 1 talaga is awareness. Awareness raising. And then educate the people. And then, when the people realize kung ano na yung problema, sila mismo yung lalapit sa government. Mag-reklamo, magsusumbong, mag-propose ng mga solutions. So, engagement pa rin with the government, with the public. There are many ways, kung na-visit nyo yung website, there are many ways to do what you can do to contribute. But volunteering for Greenpeace, of course we accept volunteers, 18 years old and above. So, volunteers namin, they come from a different a range of backgrounds. So meron kaming volunteers na tumutulong daw sa pagsusulat, sa pag-research, sa mga pag-encode, as simple things as that. Depende sa need namin. But you have to attend an orientation para alam kung paano ka maka-volunteer. But we also have action volunteers. Action volunteers meaning kapag may mga creative actions kami, or minsan they call it hard action, natatrain sila para maging partners. So for example, we have a boat team, we have a climb team. So yun, tinitrain namin yung mga ganun. Kung yun yung interest ng volunteer, gusto nyo maging frontliner sa mga action, talagang activist action, we also encourage that. So there are different ways. Minsan naman, we need IT support, minsan social media support. Iba-iba pwede. That is one. But we could also help. So we said kanina na nabubuhay yung Greenpeace via donations from individual people. So some people, they can physically be there, kasi nakavolunteer sa activities or something, pero they just donate. Kasi naniwala sila sa amin, donate sila. So we have a fundraising unit who takes care of that. So what else? You can be a cyber activist. So if you are following our social networks accounts sa Facebook or kung saan man, makikita ninyo meron kami madalas ng mga petitions. We ask people to share our info. Yun, that is enough activism for us.